All right, Mike Draco in the house tonight. First up, what's up, buddy? Good to see you here. Hey, this is Chris with Cycle Source Magazine. We're getting ready to go live with another episode of Shop Talk. Thank God we made it around the clock to Sunday again. Here we are together, getting ready to celebrate two wheels and the return of springtime for motorcycling. Great show tonight. Do me a favor, hit the like and share button so all your friends and neighbors know we're going live with Shop Talk. In just 4 minutes, we're hitting the broadcast button. Don't miss it. Grab a drink, kick back, get ready for Shop Talk. Dennis Stauber in the house. Big D, good to see you here. Cincinnati representing. Steve Henderson, love and respect out to you too, buddy. Good evening, Chopper Town from Melina Tucker. Good to see you here. Thanks for stopping in. Tony Tello, Medford, Mass in the house. Right on. So, like I said up there, killer lineup tonight for bikes big and small. SM all big and small. There's a secret message in that phrase. Gonna be awesome tonight. 2.5 minutes out, and we're going live with Shop Talk. Don't go anywhere. So many people talking about getting ready for Daytona. Gus is in the house. Happy Sunday before Daytona. Steve Burrows checking in from Detroit. Lance Baxter, good to see you here. Walter Coro getting ready for Daytona. We have half the truck packed already. I adjusted the push rods on the shovel head today. Actually kicked at the light for the first time. I'm ahead of schedule. What's up? Something's bound to go wrong. But not tonight. We got a show to do. Killer one coming up, minute and a half. Jamie Roberts almost missed that one. Bucyrus, Missouri, where the men are men, and yeah, you know the rest. Lancaster, PA, Keith Karnoff, Eddie Rowitzer. Men, I'm assuming Minnesota, probably too cold up there to say the rest of that. I can dig it. 1 minute out. Jason Hohner with us tonight. Good to see you, man. He's excited. This is his television commercial debut tonight. First time ever, internationally. Not going to be able to live with that kid after this. Don Gilmore, Chase Rider, number 22, Pittsburgh, PA. Steven Zalistra, Iowa, representing. Good to see all you guys tonight, man. Thanks for watching this program and everything we're doing over here at Source Media and all our friends over at Chopper Town. Thanks for all the support. Get ready, just 27 seconds out. That means it's time to get this one out of the station and up onto the track. Let's go live with this week's installment of Shop Talk. Here we go. Okay, scooter tramps and chopper jockeys all across the land as something crashes to the floor in the outer studio. I'm Chris from Cycle Source Magazine, and this is Shop Talk. Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We go live with this program 50 floors below the street level here at the Cycle Source Magazine World Headquarters through the courtesy of the Dennis Kirk Motorcycle Studio, coming to you live through Cycle Source Magazine's social media, Chopper Town social media. We got a lot of great partners out there. Support all of them. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. What is Shop Talk? If this is your first time, 90 to 120 minutes, all the bullshit we can fit. We talk about motorcycles, stuff that happens in the garage, sometimes embarrassing moments from our past. And before I go any further, I want to bring the crew in. We got a busy night tonight, guys. What's up?
Howdy, howdy.
There's going to be embarrassing moments from our past.
There's so many.
Oh, boy.
There are just so many.
This is going to cost me.
So crazy, man. We're getting ready for Daytona, and we don't have a big bike build. We have a little bike.
You'd think it was a big bike.
I know, right? We've taken this a little too seriously, Mark.
I'm a little still high from paint fumes. I'm
You
hungry.
know, the worst part is it's literally a little bike build, and it's still, we're going to be pulling it out of the driveway as Mark is throwing it into the back of the truck.
Yeah,
It's going to look cool, though. That little thing's pretty badass.
right on. And that's going to be coming up in the second part of the show. We actually have a few of the guys from the Flying Pistons Builder Breakfast benefit that's going on in Daytona. They outfitted a bunch of us with the new Harley-Davidson Iron-e electric 16-inch motorcycle.
Motorbicycle.
And the range of
Kinda, sorta.
customizing is kind of neat, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's all over the map.
Yeah, it's super cool how everybody's different ideas are all falling on this
There's
little
only
tiny
one
bike.
so far that I haven't seen any pictures of, so I'm curious as to what it's going to be.
I'm curious too.
I've seen the seat for it, though.
Yeah.
That's it. I've seen the seat is nice.
Steve Burrell says the bikes look big if you're 6.
I know,
Jason
I wanna
Holman
give it
says
to our grandson.
Mark looks like he has a secret.
I have a secret, all right.
Hey, man.
It's in my pocket.
So if you wonder, you'll hear us every once in a while on the show talking about comments that are coming in. All you have to do is wherever you're watching this from, throw up your comments. If it's Facebook, YouTube, whatever, they'll come in through that box there, and we'll try to get to your questions, concerns, everything. Mr. Banks in the house. Mr. Willie T. Jones, Chopper Time, March 11th. Cycle Source, Roadside Marty. The reason to go to Daytona. Right there. We're
about it,
all
too.
on our way, my man.
That is hands down the best show
Mm-hmm.
of the year. I mean, I'm stoked. I'm totally bummed I'm missing. I'm like so bummed.
I know.
It's gonna
That's
be-
for you.
It's gonna be the first one in a really long time. I'll
It
tell
will
you.
be.
Yeah.
It will be. So let's rock and roll here because we got a hell of a show to get through tonight. Like I said, this is a 90 to 120 minute show that we usually start off with a little program we like to call the news. First up in the news tonight, and this from our very own Cycle Source Magazine World Report, explore endless horizons, new Harley-Davidson Pan American 1250 and Pan American 1250 Special motorcycles debut. But the defecation kind of hit the rotary oscillator during that review. There was wild controversy going on all over social media. The bike actually looks bitchin'. It seems like everyone in the company is super excited about this release. They're all invested in it, but it seems like the politic bug sort of drifted in on this, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of inevitable.
Yeah, I was just
especially-
gonna say, isn't it obvious that was gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just too volatile a year to have somebody, in my opinion, to have somebody that was that
outspoken, yeah.
Yeah.
on his views.
So
I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but if you're a public figure,
Yeah. Maybe
I
maybe
really
shut the hell up.
Yeah, no shit. I really like the and going back to your commentary about the jet skis. We'll get to that later, but I really like the comparison that they were making to the heritage of Harley Davidson and how before there were roads, people were traveling with their motorcycles across the country. So this really wasn't them jumping into a new market. It's kind of what they've been doing all the time. You know, there's a big difference between then and now for Harley-Davidson, but it was great the way that they worked that together, and they brought a lot of great stuff out of the archives to do it. It was a killer release. They actually absolutely killed it with that. So next up in the news, and this coming in from BikerNet, our friend Bandit over at BikerNet, Triumph Motorcycles announced new 2022 Bonneville family. Big fan of what's going on with Triumph. Triumph Motorcycles' legendary modern classic motorcycle family has been evolved with a host of significant updates across the lineup, including enhanced performance, capacity, and style. From the timeless classic Bonneville T120, T120 Black, and T100 to the stylish and contemporary custom Street Twin and new Street Twin Gold Line limited edition. The laid-back Bonneville, boy, you could get in trouble if you say that real fast.
You're not kidding.
The laid-back Bonneville Speedmaster Cruiser and pure custom Bonneville Bobber, each one has been beautifully evolved. Like I said, get over to Triumph.com, check them out. A lot of the stuff. I like
the second one from the right.
You know, between this company and the stuff that Royal Enfield is doing,
yeah.
it seems like these import bikes are really starting to get an idea of what's going on.
We think
yeah,
maybe...
they are. I mean, especially when you consider Royal Enfield, stepping up and working with SNS and Royal Enfield and going at the flat track, and they're all really coming out with a huge presence.
Do you think maybe they're smelling the blood in the water from Harley, or?
I just think everybody's trying to, we're past a point now where it's a question of, whether or not you need to in the motorcycle community, whether you need to reach out to the youth demographic. It's now become like you absolutely must. So a lot of these companies are really starting to key on that. So let's put the news on hold for a little bit. We got some great stuff. I think we're going to go to our first guest of the evening, and it's hard for me to talk about a cat that has so much going on, because this dude gives me a run for the money. And he's actually young enough to outrun me now, and that pisses me off because I used to run like this. But we're gonna hurry up and get him on the line, and you guys can help us welcome Jace to the show. Jace, what's going on, man?
What's up, guys?
Dude, we've been waiting for, it seems like forever, to get you on the show.
Yeah, it's all good. I've been just chilling, waiting my turn.
Yeah, you've been waiting. It's hard to pin you down. It's hard to pin you down. Like I said, a couple seconds ago there, it pisses me off that there's actually someone in the world that runs faster and harder than I do.
I wouldn't say that I do it harder or faster. Yeah, I'm just trying to carve my little slice of the motorcycle lifestyle, if you will, and do what opportunities come my way. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's definitely more than that. I mean, with everything you do, from the artwork, the photography, the media that you're putting out, the travels that you do to go after this stuff, I think that there's got to be more than looking for a piece of that world. You're on the same kind of quest that a lot of us are on. That passion is driving you to it.
Yeah, man. To be honest with you, I've been in the motorcycle industry for almost coming up on like 18 years now.
Right.
And that I've seen a lot of the things kind of come and go and kind of evolve and into these next scenes. And I've also witnessed the birth of social media taking over the motorcycle industry and the way information has been kind of given to the enthusiast, if you will. And so I just feel like I was kind of born at a good time to basically have experience or have a foot in the actual pre-internet motorcycle industry, and now in the actual internet related motorcycle industry. So I don't know, it's I like to look at, like, I just started painting, and then the next door opened and I went through it, and that was maybe wrenching on bikes a little bit here and there, and then the next door opened and it was like a podcast, and then it was photography, and it's all kind of related to the same subject. It's just different doors within the actual motorcycles themselves.
Well, let's back up for a minute for those of our viewers that aren't familiar with you and don't know everything that we're talking about. So Jace Hudson, Fast Life Garage, let's start with that. Let's start with where you come into this. Actually, let's even go back to where you start in with motorcycles, and let's go through your story a little bit to set a baseline.
Yeah, for sure. I actually started wet sanding. I got the entry-level position at a famous motorcycle paint shop here in Dallas called Other Side Customs. Gary is the actual owner, the guy that I kind of looked up to get on this level. And he was doing all the paint work for Rick Fairless and still does to this day. Wow. And I remember wet sanding the Discovery Channel biker build-offs and all that crazy stuff. And that was my entry level to the motorcycle paint world and actually the motorcycle industry as a whole. And I fell in love with it, man. Like I couldn't afford choppers or Harleys at the time, so I was a sport bike guy. But, I kind of just ran with that. You know what I mean? I was a part of a lot of different things here in Dallas doing sport bike stuff. We started building, air quotes there, customizing sport bikes. And I kind of got known for that. I was in a couple magazines for it. And then naturally, Harley started to speak to me a lot differently, mainly right before the big wheel thing kind of kicked in. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say now, but at the same time, like early in the industry, the big wheel thing was, huge for a lot of us to kind of run our businesses off of, whether it was paint or selling parts or customizing bikes. So it was a necessity for some of us to kind of be able to weather that era, if you will, into these other areas where bikes are becoming much more fun to ride and not just look at now.
I have to say something about that real quick though, because I know for a lot of the traditionalists, that time in this was really hard to go through. But one thing I always respected about that, the crew that came through and came into this with the big wheel bagger era absolutely had their own culture entirely. Yeah. And that's something like when we were back in the days of Limpnicky Lot, we were fighting to get our culture accepted, which was, heavy metal music, and our bikes were different, the way we dressed was different, and everybody wanted the same culture that was always around the V-twin motorcycle scene. But to watch, by the time the big wheel bagger thing came through, it was all about a completely different culture. And it wasn't like you were trying to share anybody else's shit. Everybody in that thing had their own
corner,
their own style, their own culture that came with it, man. And I always had mad respect for that because you weren't trying to copy other people's shit.
Yeah, well, on that note, man, like that's one of the things I think a lot of us kind of get a little bit tribal when it comes to talking about different bike scenes is, we all love what we're currently into. And some of us are lucky to be in that for 30, 40 years. Some of us find that bike style or that bike scene to kind of come and go like a lot of the big wheel bagger stuff did. But, to your point, man, it spoke to me because that was my customer base at the time. Like the big fat tire sport bikes evolved into the big tire baggers with stereos on.
Yeah.
So that was where my customer base went. And just trying to chase the money, I was also at the time starting to fall in love with traveling on bikes right when I built my first big wheel. And something I talk about a lot on the podcast is that I traveled the entire country for the most part on my 26-inch Road Glide. And I just never felt connected with the guys at the actual bike shows, like your Baddest Bagger shows and that stuff. I always never wanted to wash the bugs off my fairing or stuff like that because I felt like I wanted to stand out. But, I didn't have the money to build a 30-inch turbo chrome bike that dances and does all kinds of crazy shit. I just had enough to make a good looking bike that I did myself and then ride it across country. Yep. And I wanted to be respected, or not so much be respected, but I just wanted that to be what I brought to the table. And it, I made a lot of good friends out of it, not that I'm still friends with to this day, but it was just a kind of a different era of motorcycles where I felt like most of the people, and I'm generalizing, so I apologize to anybody. It's just a generalized statement here, but I felt like a lot of the people in the custom big wheel bagger thing was doing it to show off their wallet size. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of those dudes rode, and I'm not taking that away from anybody, but a lot of it was just kind of was a shit show, to be honest with you. And I felt out of love with motorcycles because of it. And it was because of the people and the toxicity that came with motorcycle shows and dudes getting mad because their big wheel or their stereo didn't win the stereo competition. And then I fell in love with FXRs, man. So I feel lucky that I didn't experience FXRs when I was younger. I got to rediscover them all again as an adult. And it was kind of cool to ride an FXR for the first time. And that changed my life, man.
You know,
The people I met.
Here's the funny thing about that though, the exact string of details that you just talked about, we went through that same thing with choppers.
Yep.
Exactly the same thing, because guys came in and they made choppers so completely unaffordable and so untouchable.
Yep.
And they made it into something else completely from what we started with, because we started, it was the same thing. Like, you put a cool bike together to go raise hell with your buddies and have a good time, and all of a sudden, like, we felt like that whole thing was just taken away from us. It was taken to another place that we couldn't even reach.
Yeah, it was almost like they were trying to do it to prove a point.
Yeah.
Not to build a bike or not to be a part of a group, but like a measuring contest. Like, it isn't a measuring contest. It's a lifestyle. And like you said before, you came into this lifestyle, and we say it all the time. A lot of times you don't come into this lifestyle; it comes into you. You sort of get sucked into it, and you don't have a choice. I mean, it comes out of you, and obviously you're doing a freaking amazing job. So, but yeah, to see those guys build those bikes solely to make a statement for themselves is almost depressing. It takes away from it.
Yeah.
Well, to wrap that up though, or to kind of bring that full circle, I still to this day fully support a couple shops that still build really badass big wheels that I've actually had on my podcast. That I find like your Covingtons, Dave and Jerry still build, in my opinion, some of the most pristine, nicest big wheel baggers. I think they're doing more fat tire baggers now than big wheels, but their quality is just spot on. And same thing with I would say DA Performance does some badass stuff. There's still guys out there that actually build real quality, nice stuff that is still rideable. It's probably not as rideable as an FXR or a souped up Dyna Performance bagger, but for that type of bike, it's definitely, you're getting your money's worth with those guys. And so I try to still support that side of the industry because it has so much to do with where I came from personally, but I love riding motorcycles more than I like painting them. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So, the thing is, I try to, I go through my whole motorcycle career and I try things, and then I find the thing that sticks and speaks to me the most. And, when I rode sport bikes, I try to do the wheelie thing. Never really quite got into that. I tried to do the drag racing thing, never quite could afford that. I did the custom bike thing, and that was something that I was able to excel in and enjoy, plus make money doing it. And that transferred over into the big wheel baggers. But then I got bored with it. And once I started traveling on my bagger, that completely changed my perception of motorcycles. And it changed the direction of a lot of my entire life, of where I wanted to push myself and inspire others to do as well, which I hate using that word inspire, but it's just something that I found something in my 30s basically that really spoke to me and made me feel like, okay, I figured out what I want to do with my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I want to, what kind of biking, motorcycling do I want to do, as long as my body will allow it. You know what I'm saying? So
you had said through that these guys are building really cool big wheel bikes and big wheel baggers, the whole nine. I don't think a lot of times it's the builder that got that sort of direction of bike shitty sort of outlook from other people. It was the rider. Sometimes it was the personification of that person that was, the builders were doing amazing jobs. I mean, they were, they might not be my thing, but some of them were cool as shit. I mean, it's not that they were building a bad bike, it's the attitude of the dude that got off of it half the time that gave you a bad taste in your mouth on those bikes. So
well, that sounds like you got some issues.
Yeah.
I'm a little more I'm a little bit more blunt. I try to tell a lot of the shops, and maybe this comes off super the wrong way, but I think it's up to us as industry practitioners, if you will, if that's the right word, like guys like us that whether it provides services, whether it's paint, media, or building bikes or parts, I think it's our responsibility to kind of steer this industry in a direction that we know from our past scenes that didn't work too well, into things that do work and may actually give you a better experience riding motorcycles. I want to see people buy a motorcycle and do this for their entire life, instead of have bad experience after bad experience, whether it's building shops or just going to rallies or events that are lame. You know what I mean? So I think it's up to us as industry people to kind of push those narratives, since we have experience in motorcycles, to kind of weed out the bullshit and give our motorcycle scene a better everything. Shop.
You know, sometimes
media, everything.
Sometimes I feel like that, and sometimes I almost want to go back to the times when they would switch the sign on the door to closed, and the no vacancy sign would come on. Just sometimes, you know, it depends on the day.
Well, I'll tell you,
the day that you catch me.
If it came back to that, in a lot of senses, a lot of people wouldn't make it through this industry. I mean, a lot of people don't know what it was like to be shunned when you pulled up on a bike, or to ride down the road and have the cop whip out and follow you solely because they were questioned, or to get, you know, which I know me and Chris, it's happened multiple times, pulled over and tattoos, take picture of your tattoo. What club are you with? Where are you going? I mean, that, you know, now people are trying to do it dressing to try and get that to happen to them. And that's not, like you said, that's not how it should be. It should be the experience. It should be what you gained from it.
Well,
you know,
we got a couple great comments up here too from guys. Well, first of all, Rob Nussbaum says, "Lighten up, Francis." Eric says, "Loved my 5 trips across the country. Unable to ride anymore because of serious back issues. You got to grab a buddy or go solo. No regrets. Ideal stereo. I don't give a f what you ride as long as you actually ride. Just don't be a dick about it." Chris, no, I seen choppers I couldn't ride exceed every expectation. Amen. Donnie Hill, coolest thing about FXR is not the bikes, it's the FXR community. There you go.
Yeah.
100%. And, you know, with what we've been, you know, doing with performance baggers, which I hate using that word. It's been a hot topic lately, but we have to find a new word for it because it just isn't working. But just for the sake of everybody understand what I'm talking about, that's kind of what we have with this performance bagger community right now, is the same thing that I experienced with the FXR community. And it's really great right now. And it's still a very young inception, if you will, of a era of bikes, or a scene, if you will. Even though everybody's claiming they've always been doing performance baggers, shit's new. So, but the problem is that, like, it's not really a problem. It's just like, we're trying to kind of steer it in a great direction and keep the bullshit from coming in and you know, I don't know. It's probably not my responsibility or my place I should be trying to do.
No, it is. It's just like you said. It's all of our responsibilities. You know, especially like guys like you, guys like me and Mark. Like as we start to achieve a tenure in this industry, the things that you do, how you represent yourself, you are inspiring other people. Other people are watching what you're doing, especially when you're involved in media. You know, it is your responsibility.
Yeah, you have to kind of, you know, as far as our podcast and I guess the media side of things, you know, I need to ride across the country and I need to go sit in these shops or bring these shops to my studio or do photography or paint bikes. Like, it gives me something to talk about and be more, more relative to the listener, so they'll have something to hear from me. I mean, my show is much different than, I guess, you guys' show with all the news and stuff you do. We kind of just do the shit talking, you know, like, don't quote anything we say on our show, but it's just a good time, you know what I mean? And we try to do it. I have to do all these things. I have to ride across country multiple times to events to be able to share those experiences with the listeners and kind of hopefully inspire, there's that word again, them to jump on their bike and ride across country, or to ride to the next town over, or something more than the local bar, you know, just get a real experience out of motorcycles instead of just the weekend hoppers. There's nothing wrong with that. If you ride bikes, do what you do. But, you know, if you're looking for something else in bikes, I'm trying to provide a couple of answers to that question. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the crux of it too. I mean, part of the reason why we have the ability to throw all this shit in the truck and hit the road with it is the real stories are out there. You know, I mean, you got a lot of great stories from inside your own house, inside your own garage, in your own neighborhood, but the real stories, you gotta chase them all over this country.
Yeah, you got a couple podcasts of good stories, and then you got to get new ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to go out there and you have to continue to have experiences, to have things to fill the void of you know, an hour to 2 hour podcast. You know what I'm saying? It's you know, like we were talking about earlier, the consistency of doing things is tough to kind of manage, doing 4 to 5 episodes of a podcast a month, to also painting bikes, to traveling the country on a bike.
Yeah.
I mean, trust me, my wife and we go at it, you know what I mean? But I have the energy right now, and I have the eyes on me, so I'm trying to make something out of this. and hopefully it'll, like I was saying about the doors with the opportunities, something else will come along that I can kind of, put my stamp on as well. That's kind of how photography came into the mix. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, man. It's just going through the doors.
let's talk about let's talk about the podcast. So when was it that your podcast got started? Because I was reading pre-show, I was reading that in January of 2018 was your first podcast, but it seems like it was longer than that.
No, that was actually it. So to give credit where it's due, my good buddy Danger Dan brought me on his podcast, the Danger's Dan, Dan, Talk Shop. He brought me on, and that kind of introduced me to podcasts in 2017. And for most of the people that listen to me, they know that I can talk way too much. That's where all my friends said, you should do a podcast. And eventually I did. And being a part of the industry, the motorcycle industry, it allowed me to have some pretty high profile guests on early on, even though I don't think I was anywhere near ready to actually do a podcast yet, as far as like understand how to navigate a conversation or any of that type of stuff. But our first podcast was Simpson motorcycle helmets, and then 5 podcasts later we're sitting down with Dixon Flannel. So we were able to have a huge amount of like big brands talking about how they started and where they came from early on, and I think that gave me a little bit more of a jump in listenership and allowed me to continue doing it for the last 3 years. We just celebrated our 3rd year anniversary in January. So it's a good run, man, but it's a scary platform, if you don't talk for a living like I didn't and still struggle with, work on our ums and ahs and likes.
Oh, no shit, right? And then isn't it the funniest thing too, because we reproduce some of these shows into podcast form, and it's funny how different the audience is. Like a podcast audience has very, very specific consumption rules. I mean, they have rules about audio, they have rules about format, and they will tell you about it.
I mean, you got a comment section right there. You give anybody a comment section, you're going to get the opinions, man.
Yep.
I've seen some over there that are pretty funny, but
that's the cool part about them, to know what other people are thinking while you're saying.
Hey, you know what I love the best is when we get like every once in a while we'll get that one drunk guy that's like just shit faced in the bag, and like he's making comments on shit that happened 3 weeks ago, and no one has an idea what he's talking about, and like. You sit there watching it, it's like watching a pot boil over. It's like, here it comes, poof. It's the best shit.
Yeah, man.
So tell us about, I want to know about your most terrifying time in the middle of a production, in the middle of a podcast, because I know in doing interviews, like sometimes there's that dark turn that shit takes that you're like, oh boy, where is this going?
Well, it happens quite often with my podcast. It's usually after I finish the first 12 pack. That's when shit gets a little bit where I need to be cut off. And when we were going, last year was a tough one because there was a lot of dark times in America, whether it was with the riots, the whole pandemic itself, it's hard not to get super opinionated about what's going on in current events.
Right. And
it's hard to stay on track of like, look, this is a podcast about motorcycles, not my thoughts on, tearing down statues and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of hard to stay that off, but after you get a lot of beers in you, you know what I mean? You're just like, here's my take on this. This is my take on, what's going on in Syria right now. Like, all right, man, they didn't sign up for that and they didn't ask for it. And that's where I have a hard time doing that sometimes. Well, I've gotten better at it, but trying to be coherent of that part of my personality that comes out because I'm still absorbing all this news from the world. Yeah. And trying not to spew it out on a podcast about motorcycles, that becomes tough sometimes.
It's really hard too because as much as you want your media thing to remain neutral and you want it to be for everybody, you're still a person.
Yep.
And inside of you still have your beliefs and your values and your principles, and people will set you up for that shit. Like people come up with triggers, man, that it's like sometimes my legs shaking underneath the table in the studio. Like, God, please don't talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. But at the same time, as far as like with guests, like I've had, with any guest, you sometimes deal with guys that are very quiet. They just don't want to come out of their comfort zone and elaborate on their experiences or their life or whatever we're trying to talk about. So, I always jokingly try to say is like, all right, so you got a chance to talk about your entire life, your motorcycle career, everything that's going on, and you wrap that up in 15 minutes. All right, man. That's huge. There's got to be more to the story, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's one of those things, like, you have to find a way, and you learn this over time of talking with people. You find things within what they're saying to kind of grasp to, because they're a little bit passionate about it, and you can pull out a real conversation out of that. And that's early on, I didn't understand that, and I've learned that over time to where I can continue a conversation for at least an hour with somebody that doesn't really want to talk. You know what I mean?
Some people can be super difficult to have an interview with. And then, like we just had one here recently that we're like, oh God, this interview is going to suck. And it's going to be really hard to pull out, and like totally blew us away. Yeah. Like the dude was like totally badass, So it's
we basically said, so tell us a little bit, and boom,
that was it.
Yeah,
it was gone.
Yeah,
it's hard though, like to navigate that, being for a guy like you or a guy like Chris to sit in that chair and have to be literally the pilot and try and pull the information out of it is really difficult. I mean, otherwise I'm saying like, dude, you're boring. Like you almost just want to say like, all right, we got to go somewhere else. Yeah.
Well, there you go. I've always said that the most for a host of a podcast, anytime it's a bad podcast, I honestly think that ends up being our fault. You know what I mean? Because we have to be able to see these type of social cues within people and know how to bring it out. And so when I had bad podcasts in the time, I don't really blame it on the guest, because I did a bad job, pulling that information out of him. You know what I mean? And it's a lot easier to blame myself and make myself become better at it than to blame it on him. And then just continue down the road doing bad interviews. You know what I mean?
Okay, you're actually too good of a human being. I'm really starting to dislike you now. I was hoping at least after all your credits, your paint, your across the country, all that, I was hoping you were going to be a dick at least.
Oh, I'm definitely a dick. I have a Patreon for that.
So how many episodes of the podcast have you acquired at this point?
We have 189 episodes that are out on all podcast platforms.
Dude, that's a pile of work.
Yeah, there's about 10 that never got released because of my dumbass. And then we have about probably 5 or 6 on our Patreon that we just recently started doing as just like Patreon only episodes. So we've done quite a bit, but like I said, as soon as we started the podcast, we picked up sponsors quickly. And once I got paid, which, let me be real clear, it wasn't a lot of money, but it was still I got paid, period. Whether it was $20 or $200, I got paid, so I had to provide those episodes that I got paid for.
Yeah,
getting paid in this is getting paid. You don't even have to talk about the amount. It's awesome.
Yeah. So, but getting paid, period, is just like if I got paid to airbrush a helmet or paint a bike. It's like I have to provide what these people are paying me for. So that was one of the hardest things I think people have to deal with when they try to start a podcast is doing it every month and consistency. I spent about 6 months questioning whether or not it was worth my time, whether I was any fucking good or whatever, but I guess I had enough people like my mom out there telling me like, you're great, honey, keep doing it. And so I kept at it, and then, I still suck at it, but I'm getting better. You know what I mean? So,
hey, listen, 25 years later, I still have that conversation with myself. Do I suck? What am I doing? And generally, Mark comes in right behind. He goes, yeah, you suck, and you should quit.
Yeah. Staples is looking for a stock boy.
Awesome. So let's go over to your site for a second. Tell everybody to make sure that they check you out. Heather put the link up for fastlifegarage.com. Your Patreon is there. The information about your podcast through YouTube, Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher. Make sure you check this stuff out. I literally started. Go ahead.
Sorry. I literally started this website just because I had to have one for the podcast. So there's nothing else on it. It's just a homepage, basically.
No, but that's great. That's great. But I want people to go. I want people to go and get that information. Go check out the work that you're doing. And I wanted to say all that before we move into the next phase of awesome shit that you do and start talking about your pain a little bit.
Cool. Yeah.
So I had up that picture of of Dimebag on the helmet, and dude, that kills me that that's not my helmet, first of all. But like, you know, the expression and the depth and like that's so badass. That's so badass, and the way you bring it together too with like a real modern paint job design, like it's not just a, you know, a 70s kind of airbrush theme. Really comes together nice.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I was in.
Well, you know,
I ran to pick up some stuff in town on Saturday morning and rode through. We were friends with them, actually. Spend some good time with those guys, and had a last crazy evening we spent with them. I drove down that strip, and when Chris popped that picture up, I was like, "Oh, dude, I was just thinking about those guys."
For anybody that ever spent any time with them, to tell you that like spent time, if you know about the Nerf dartboard in the tour bus, then you know exactly what we're talking about.
Shit,
those dudes could party.
Yeah, we had some fun with them. They're good guys. So that helmet's awesome.
What was your making it commission for paint? Like what was the job that you got that was like,
man, I've had about a ton of those over the career, because the way I have always tried to progress myself artistically with paint is to set goals for myself. Like, okay, well, once I get in a magazine, man, like my career is going to blow up. It never did, but it gave me like enough of that fluff that I needed to push myself to the next level. And one thing I used to do before I was like really just hardcore dedicated to motorcycles, I used to do a lot of lowrider paint jobs back in the late 2000s.
Wow, no shit.
And I worked with a company that basically put on shows here, and he still does to this day. Torres Empire, a big lowrider guy. He's kind of the guy I try to model myself after for what he's done to the lowrider culture, or done for the lowrider culture, is what I would hopefully at some point like to provide for the motorcycle culture. But I used to go to his car shows, which would also have concerts in it, and I would paint live there. Like I would do it like a canvas and shit. And the goal was, okay, I can paint a skull or a hot chick, and that would be appealing to half the people walking by. But if I was to paint somebody that somebody knows, whether it's an actor or a singer or somebody famous, more people will stop because they know what it's supposed to look like, right? And so if I look like I'm doing a good job, they're going to automatically assume that I'm good at what I do. You know what I mean? And when it came to painting bikes, man, like I struggled getting my quality up to where it needed to be to match my ability with graphics and painting or airbrushing. But it was probably like the last 5 or 6 years that I really started to push myself to a really higher level of painting, if you will. And with the helmet thing, I never thought that I would be a helmet guy over a badass motorcycle painter or whatever you want to, throw out there. But when I started doing helmets, I was able to kind of do as badass of a job as I can do and not look at a wall full of other parts that have to match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're doing a bagger, you could do this badass thing on a tank, and then you look over there and you go, fuck, I got 14 more pieces to match this to.
I just said that today.
Yep.
Yeah. So the helmet thing allowed me to kind of do it. It allowed me to do three things, right? It allowed me to immortalize, if that's the right word, my experiences on a motorcycle every year. So I do a new helmet for myself every year. It's kind of hard to see, but I have about 7 helmets behind me, and I do a new helmet for myself every year. And that is like my whole 2017, 2018, 2019. It's my earn for those memories, right? Yeah. And by doing that and selling it that way and pushing it to people that way, I get the same thing from a lot of customers around the world now who send me a helmet, or they don't send them, they'll buy a helmet from me. I'll paint it. I'll do the airbrush. I'll do something. Maybe their father, like the dog you just put up there, like that was a buddy. His dog just passed away actually yesterday, I believe.
Oh.
And we were able to get a helmet done with his puppy or his dog. I guess it wasn't a puppy anymore recently. So it's just dope to be able to provide that for somebody. So these helmets, man, they mean something.
Dude, that's so awesome.
And so like one thing I've always noticed about being in this industry, and I'm gonna try to say this without sounding like a complete dick, but I don't like being a material possession for a customer. I don't like my work to just be another material possession. I want it to be sought after because they want my style, my art, my my shit, because I spend so much of my life designing these paint jobs or doing these paint jobs that I don't want it to just be like the next thing you needed to make your bike cool. You know, like I want people to actually be like, fuck man, like I got a fast side paint job. This means so much to me, you know? And it's taken time to get there. And I've had to weed out a lot of different types of customers that I just didn't vibe with. But now I feel like I have like the best customers in the world that get me and I get them and we do great work together. You know what I mean? So
dude, that portrait is insane.
Thank you.
Insane. The detail.
The funny thing is I don't even want to airbrush anymore. I actually hate doing it.
Wow.
It's airbrushing itself is a very, I don't get to do it every day. I think you guys know of guys like Steve Gibson. He's air, oil, and lead. That
man,
dude,
Steve is he's from another planet. I mean, let's be serious.
Exactly.
Let's be serious.
From
Nobody does work like that on planet Earth. What's wrong with that cat?
But he loves art in that one form. Not necessarily that one form because he does oil. He does many different types of art. But when he gets free time, he paints. When I get free time, I drink beer with my buddies and go ride. Right? So I can't progress.
Can I get an amen?
I can't progress as quickly as I'm used to whenever I was younger, when I was super hungry for art and becoming better at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it becomes like a real big emotional roller coaster every time I start a portrait, whether or not it's going to come out as good as I think I'm capable of. And that really, it stresses me the fuck out. Like I'm doing a Marilyn Monroe right now, and I don't know how I feel about it. You know, so
that's
I don't
normal.
have the confidence.
I mean, that's normal though. I mean, to go to that, because I mean, I know every time we start something, we go through the same thing. I mean, I think if you went into it like, oh, dude, I'm going to knock this out of the fucking park, you wouldn't have the finished product you have. You're testing yourself through the whole thing, which makes you even more of an artist than you're giving yourself credit for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. I appreciate that. It's just that, like I said, it's a tough one, man. You're constantly up and down trying to find, you know, and the other thing that sucks about doing airbrush like this is that they didn't make digital cameras till like 2000, right? So, and I imagine every tattoo artist out there hates this too when they do portraits. It's like, there's so many badass movies, you know, all from pop culture to music, which I think is the same thing. Just so many famous people over the times that you would want to, you know, immortalize on a helmet, and finding good images to kind of find the detail for me to recreate is tough. That's why I brought up Steve Gibson, because I feel like he's one of the few artists out there that can create what isn't there, you know what I mean, and still give you a look of like this. If I don't see the images, like if I don't see the shadows between the nose and the cheek, like it ain't gonna be there when I paint it, and it's not gonna look like whoever the hell I'm trying to make it look like, you know what I mean? So it's a tough one, man. But like I said, it sucks when that's like what everybody wants for you, so you gotta do it every week.
Now I recognize this paint job a little bit. What's up?
Yeah, it should be coming out soon.
What's going on there?
Yeah.
So yeah, the paint work's incredible. I mean, you know, you're another one. You wonder how when you get a chance to sleep, you know, how you shut enough off to lay your head down at night, because, you know, as I'm looking through your pictures, it's a shame that people can't see everything that I'm flipping through, because it also looks like you have a full-time schedule going after this life right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, man. That's
badass.
Yeah, and that's one of my good buddies right there. You know, I think we were on Pikes Peak right there. That man, riding like that, going to these trips, man, I can't tell you how much it means to me, especially to share it with my friends. And it's just one of those things that obviously we don't get paid to ride across the country, man. And so I have to use all my vacation time that I give myself to go do amazing things with people. And I wish I could do more of that with my wife, but she doesn't really want to jump on the bike for a 5,000-mile motorcycle trip. And I completely understand. So we usually just would fly her to wherever we're going to go and be for a couple of days. But man, having real dudes like that, like I've been fortunate enough to find these guys in my life that just make my bike trips, man. Like, you know, for instance, this picture right here, like we've been chasing all the Forrest Gump spots in America that he ran, you know what I mean? And we're actually doing a trip in June all the way up to the lighthouse in Maine to do the same photo again.
Right.
So it's just, man, it's awesome. And, one thing about us, like I'm 38. Most of the guys that I ride with are in their 30s. And, it's not set in stone that we're going to be able to do this for the next 20 or 30 years. And so, one of the concepts, one of the concepts about my whole brand is, the fast life. It used to be called Live Fast, but, I had to change it for some reasons. But fast life is, all about doing this now while you have time and just living it, doing it, and keeping it going. Because one day we ride a motorcycle, man. Like, not every day's promised to us more than the next person, And
hey,
so,
you know what? I'll tell you something else to think about, baby. From two guys here that were just 38 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like this.
Chris actually today sat in the garage on the chair and said, man, I'm a couple good years older than Chris. And he said, I just don't have it. And he said, he said, it's coming fast. And I've been telling him for 7 years, dude, I'm done. I'm burned out. I can't go. We did 20-hour days, like no shit, for years on end. And then
just like you guys do.
Yeah.
And,
and like you wake up one day and you're like, fuck, I'm done.
Yeah, somebody just lets part of the air out of your tire and you're like,
and it's depressing.
Why is this thing not rolling like it should be?
It's super, super depressing. And I'll tell you, there's another thing in, you're saying in fast life, this not something to gain out of fast life is keep that in mind, because you're going to get to a time you're going to sit down and be like, dude, I don't know if I can do any more of it, and respect what you did do.
But that's it, dude. That's what you got to appreciate too.
Yeah.
Is like the stuff that you're doing now. You keep talking about how you're immortalizing this, you're immortalizing that. Someday, and this is how I always look at it, I have a shelf full of magazines, books full of pictures, computers full of stuff, that someday when I can't physically leave this room, I'm going to live all that shit over again.
Yeah.
And so many people, you don't even realize this. So many people are doing that right now, that they have that 9-to-5 grind. They're taking care of kids and doing all that shit. They're watching everything that guys like you are doing because they can't get out there and do it, man. You're doing it for them.
I saved a lot of crap over the years, just from traveling and racing. Did a lot of racing, and when my shop burnt, I lost it all. I mean, everything, all the pictures, all the memorabilia and stuff, and that was super sad. But again, the magazine was one thing that was really cool, and your podcast and these pictures and all that stuff that you're doing, you can't take that away from what you have in your head. So, it's
for sure. And we started, I think 3 years ago as well, we started our Fast Life Camp Out, which we do every year at, you guys know Adam Sandoval? I'm sure you ran into him before.
Yep.
He has a campground in Oklahoma that's a biker campground, and we've been doing a camp out there for the last 3 years. And, it's not, I make $0 off of it. We just put it on and we try to get people to travel the country on their bikes, maybe with their buddies. Or if you're from a part of the country that you don't have a lot of homies to ride with, come make some. And this little camp out group that's also kind of coincided with the performance bagger movement, if you will, has turned into this like nationwide group of friends and homies, you know what I mean? That like I'm stoked to see, you know what I mean? And it's just a camp. It's just riding a bike across the country and sleeping on the dirt and getting fucked up, you know what I mean? So it's simple grassroots motorcycle stuff that, when people actually do that, they realize what motorcycles is really about. It's not necessarily about all the purse and the prize at the show and the who's going to be there. If they're going to be there, then I definitely want to be there. It's like, man, just motorcycle experiences, man. Not that you can't have a great time in Daytona, but I think you can have a great time when you're around a lot of people that are stoked to see you. You know what I mean? And
there's a whole other time, like, I've been out on the Alaskan highway completely by myself. Was so tired I didn't even know what day it was anymore because the sun stops going down. It just gets different. It's a little bit afternoon, a little bit morning. And that clarity of being completely alone in the universe, like there's nothing like that. There's no, and it's motorcycling that took me there. It kind of tricked me into it, but it found me to the doorsteps of metaphysical connection to something it's way beyond buying shit or having an ego and a dick measuring contest.
Yeah, and like, man, the campouts, dude. It's just a simple thing that we were able to put our name on, only to. Since our Instagram and stuff has a little bit of a following, we only try to put our name on things to try to get attention to it so that people will come and check it out. And, like I said, it's something that I found late in my life as far as camping and sleeping in the dirt with your buddies, but it's humbled me, I think, maybe. I don't know. I like it. It's fun, but I also like hotels too. But, there's something to be said about once you've been riding all day with your buddies and you stop and you camp somewhere, it's you're still talking around a fire about that day. If you y'all go get a hotel room, then you all kind of, retire to your rooms and the night's over. You know what I mean? And like I said about my drinking and on the podcast, it's like sometimes I don't want the party to end. You know what I mean? So.
Well, dude, I'll tell you what. There's so much more to talk about with you. I wanna actually come back after Daytona. I want to have you come on again so we can talk a little bit more about some of your other stuff, and we'll get into the camp out a little bit more and some of that. Maybe we can bring a whole other aspect of this with you, because it's too much to do in the short time that we have tonight. But I super appreciate you making time and coming on with us.
Man, I appreciate you guys, man. I'm a huge fan of the magazine, always have been, and I want to thank you for doing my podcast a couple years ago.
Yeah, man.
And like I said, it's just, and I'll thank you guys for having one of my photos in your magazine as Mr. John Jessup. Yeah, man,
we actually need to do an artist profile on you, Jace.
Yeah.
I can't believe we haven't done one yet. So Killer will be reaching out for that within the next, week.
There's a lot of rad people in the United States alone. There's a lot of talented people, badass people, and it's not saying that I am, but I'm just saying.
No, you absolutely are.
It's hard to know everybody and know what everybody's doing in every crack of the country. You know what I mean?
Well, and we've been fans of your work for quite a long time here. It's like you said, just like, when you're talking about making your trip up the West Coast here and picking up so many of those guys in a row, like sometimes it's just different circles, and you end up with so much media, so much information, and you got to funnel through it. It's a shame that
it's tough.
Yeah. It's a shame there's not more time to do more.
Yeah, but honestly, guys, thank you so much for bringing me on. Like, it's a true honor, and I hope that let's do some more shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, let's get you back in a few weeks after Daytona. We'll go after this.
Cool. Well, I appreciate it, guys.
All right, Jace Hudson, ladies and gentlemen, go check him out. Like I said, we put links up, but Heather will throw some more here in a minute. Fast Life Garage. You want to go to their Instagram, Fast Life Jace. Fast Life Visuals, Instagram.com, The Fast Life Garage. You can go check them out through all of that. You will spend hours checking this dude's work out, the images he collects along his travels and adventures with motorcycles. And it was a real treat for us to have him on tonight. Hey, this is Chris with Cycle Source Magazine. You are watching Shop Talk every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern. We go live with an episode of this show. It's 90 to 120 minutes, all the bullshit we can fit. We do some interviews, some tech, some shop talk, talk shit, sit around the shop. The stuff we do.
Yeah,
So for right now, we're gonna take a 2-minute break real quick. Pay some love to our sponsors. When we come back on the other side, we have some builders coming in from the Builder Breakfast Flying Pistons charity event that's coming up in Daytona. It's going to kick Daytona off, so don't go anywhere. Those guys are on the line. They're waiting to come in, and we'll be right back.
Everybody, Jason Hallman, Garageville Podcast, and one of Cycle Source Magazine's tech writers. And right behind me is my Vapor Honing Technologies VH1000 professional grade vapor honing machine. And we're partnering with Vapor Honing Technologies to give one lucky viewer their very own Weekend Warrior machine to go in their garage. This machine behind me is going to save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on your next project. And if you're a commercial shop owner, it's not only going to save you hundreds or thousands of dollars, it's going to make you those hundreds or thousands of dollars. So make sure you stay tuned to Shop Talk to find out all about how you can win, and read the new issue of Cycle Source Magazine coming to the newsstand soon, where you can find out all about how we use this on a daily basis here at Cycle Stop USA. Thanks for watching.
I guess it was about 1958 or so. I was 13 years old. A friend had a homemade motor scooter. He let me ride it, and I just was taken by that. There were garage builders everywhere before the pros took over. Especially bikes and hot rods, you had to have friends that did all the different things. There's nothing in a Harley showroom I want, but if you tell me about a box, some boxes in the shed, man, I'll beat you there, you know. And then it was that fun and that personal pride that you took a basket case and you made something out of it. You know, anybody can go buy one of those, but you got to build one of these, and that's the difference. Dennis Kirk is really amazing because of so many things. There's a variety of parts, the speed, the ease of ordering. You know, you pick up the phone and just whip out a part number and it's in your shop in a day or two. I'm Ed Fish and I'm from Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and I'm a Dennis Kirk garage builder.
Okay, this is Chris with Cycle Source Magazine, Grease and Gears Garage, and we're in the garage today doing some work on the garage. This is something a lot of you guys will understand, and it's caused me to come up with a new name for Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight Tool Company is a great resource, so don't get me wrong when I say this, but because of things like this, I'm considering changing the name to the Down Payment Tool Company, because today we're going to be working on the Harbor Freight Sandblast cabinet, and you can get these for around $200 from Harbor Freight, but it's actually not what you're paying for it. You're paying $200 as a down payment for a good Sandblast cabinet. Once you put about another $400 into it, it'll perform the way that you want it to. So that's what we're going to go through today. Namely, one of the big changes we're going to do right off of the bat is this is the system that comes with your Harbor Freight blast cabinet. It's a traditional pickup tube, so this goes down into the sand. The sand is sucked up from the pressure of the air into the gun. The whole thing ends up being kind of, you know, rough to move around inside the cabinet. In place of that and a better system, we're going to switch over to this metering valve. This will actually go on the trap door on the bottom of the cabinet. It lets you meter in some air, so it makes it more efficient. It brings the sand up from the bottom, so you don't have to sit there and keep poking the hose the whole time you're sandblasting. Plus, it brings the hose in from the side. It's going to be a little nicer, and supposedly a night and day difference for your cabinet. We have a dryer from Harbor Freight that we're going to put on that. Our air delivery system, we decided to go with a little pigtail to make it kind of easier. From the good people at Eastwood, we decided at the same time that we'll put a little foot pedal actuator so that you don't have to sit there, you know, either with air on the whole time or working a switch or a trigger or anything. Yeah, the whole deal, like I said, around $400 or so, depending on what you're going to do. We started off with a cabinet light upgrade, and I'm going to show you guys that real quick. But basically what we did is your standard spotlight kit, we bought one, took one side of it off, you know, little electric box, switch. It's going to run the vacuum cleaner and the whole deal from there. We'll go through this with you guys real quick, and then in the end, we'll give Heather's sandblasting cabinet back to her and she can take it for a test drive. So come on. Oh, nice. But so again, in the spirit of transparency, last night I had this collection of hodgepodge washers, different sizes, to take up the space that I needed here. Then we can get all this stuff together. Very nice. And we are $9-cent Lowe's bucket. Okay, so now that we have this all together, we're going to take some parts and give our Sandblast cabinet a try. I got some bars for the Flying Pistons bike that we're getting ready to go out to powder coat. So we're going to run those through this thing and see. Really nice. This cabinet, like now, especially with the dust collecting system and the separator and everything, you can see as we're using this inside, it stays nice and visible. Our new spotlight is giving us more visibility. The dust is all getting sucked out of the cabinet, which keeps that nice and, you know, makes everything work better. One of the nicest things that we found, and Heather's going to show you this while I'm talking about it, but the dust deputy was a very, very nice upgrade for low money. You can see on the other side of our shelving here, we've kind of tucked away our shop vac and the dust deputy system, and as this thing is running, man, it just keeps the visibility so nice. And it actually works exactly like they say that it does. It creates a little cyclone inside the deputy, and the clean air moves on to the vacuum cleaner, and the sand drops down into the bucket, and you can reuse the sand. So for the money we spent on that, it was absolutely fantastic. Okay, so obviously that's a abbreviated section of that video. We wanted to play that for you guys tonight. That's what we did in the shop this week. You can expect to see that full video starting tomorrow on all of our social media channels if you want to see the particulars about what we used and, you know, what each item was and its cost and everything. But like I said, you know, for a $200 cabinet to put $400 into it after so many years of owning it, and right now it's like I went from a junior level piece of equipment to it absolutely kicks ass. So good stuff. And that was brought to us, I should tell you, Daniel Donnelly actually hipped me to that whole Sandblast cabinet upgrade, and that's in this month's magazine. So you want to check that on newsstands today.
Yeah, we were actually getting ready. It's not on newsstands yet, almost. A little early. But we were getting ready to throw that cabinet out because it was just not working right at all. And we did these upgrades, and it's like brand new. So
yep,
definitely a keeper, worth the investment. And it saved us like $800. So I'm super happy about that.
Yeah, right on. So, hey, we've been talking about the Flying Pistons Builders Breakfast that's coming up in Daytona. It's going to be kicking Daytona off. We have been lucky enough, Mark and I, through Flatbroke Chops and Rods, to be part of that this year. Builders Breakfast. If you've never been to one of these in Daytona, man, like the Builders Breakfast in Daytona was legendary.
Yeah.
Some of my coolest memories of Daytona and people that I met there came out of the Builders Breakfast. So it's always been a blast. It's great to see it coming back, and they're launching this whole campaign to do some good charity work behind this through Flying Pistons. And they've asked right now, you can actually go and put your bids in for not only the electric bikes that have been customized, but for many, many other items that are going to be there. You can see cool skateboard decks and helmets that have been painted, everything up for bid, all of it going out for a good cause. They take this stuff and turn it into the money that funds a program to bring Stasic bikes to move on to some of our mini moto builders. I think our first guest up is Mr. Scott Keitzman. Scott, are you there with us? Actually talking to Marilyn, and she told us she didn't know what was going to go on with you because you had you had an unexpected injury. And
an unexpected, this thing here.
Oh.
Yeah, I lost my right arm, so it's kind of been a challenge for the past almost 3 weeks.
Well, I got to tell you though, watching everybody's posts, I'm seeing all of this stuff come to life, and man,
it's simple. It's different than what the other builders are doing. Obviously, I like to take what the factory gave me and just kind of enhance it a bit. I didn't go too radical, but it's definitely going to have our.
Yeah, me too. Tell us a little bit about your shop, where you're from, and everything.
Well, I'm a small shop here in South Florida. I've been in the business since 2005. Actually got involved with the motorcycle industry because I owned a Victory motorcycle. And back in 2005, nobody type of aspect of building motorcycles and parts for them.
Yeah, right on. Right on. Well, listen, stay with us. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to switch between you guys for a minute, then I want to bring you all on screen.
Yeah, sure.
I think that the next builder that we're going to bring up here is our longtime friend, Mr. Go ahead, say his name, Mark. Say it.
Evan. Are we talking about Evan Favaro?
Evan Favaro. If he gets his microphone on.
Don't confuse him. Huh? He'll have to lay down.
Evan, are you there?
I think so.
Oh, so
how is Favaro a hard name to pronounce?
It's not hard.
First question.
It's not hard. It's just fun to say. Funny.
It's Favaro. Get it straight, buddy. What's the matter with you? So I have a question. Do you get?
You caught me at home.
So let's take a look, because Evan and I actually started sending pictures to each other like 2 minutes after they sent us the bicycles, because we're like two little children. This is the process of you lengthening your forks. Got some cool twisted steel going on there. Lengthened the backbone. Made your own side cover.
Yeah, just so the biggest thing for this whole thing was the battery was like this huge. The gas is the electric on this thing, so let's just hide it.
Let's go back and look at where you hid that. That's pretty slick.
Yeah, I wish it was a little deeper. I kind of wish the tank was maybe a little longer, but to hide it. But it makes it easier. I was trying to make it like where obviously this has to be function as well, so like a kid could just swap out a battery real quick.
Yeah,
little floorboard foot peg setup thing you got going on. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that thing was cool. It's real simply just twisted some 1/2 inch. I have this 60s panhead chopper in the shop that I'm building.
Oh, see?
And here it is. So this is the bike that I kind of like. I was like, oh, maybe I could do like a little electric version of this.
Right on. I can see it, dude. Right. I can see it. That's
so great. Other than like instead of red and silver, I went obviously blue and silver. But like these are some foot controls I made for it, and so that's where the floorboards came from, and that was kind of my inspiration for it.
That's bitching.
Yeah, man.
Well, listen,
it's fun.
Don't go anywhere. We're just gonna switch over real quick and bring the Nash boys on, and then I want to talk to all you guys at one time. So hang on for 1 second.
Yeah, man.
So we're lucky enough to have the bad Tabor and Reggie Nash. Hey Tabor, you better be careful, man. That dude's as big as you now.
He's getting there.
Dude, tell me about it, man. 13, can you believe it?
Oh Jesus.
It's wild. It's the years fly by.
Yeah, buddy.
It's cool. He's cool. It's stuck to you like he has, learning the shit that he's learning,
Yeah, all the Nash kids pitched in on this one actually a little bit.
That's gonna keep shit going in the right direction over
there. That's right. That's right.
So tell us about your bike. I'm gonna go through some pictures while you guys are talking about it.
Yeah. So when I got this thing, my kids jumped on it right away, and they were like, okay, what do we do with this thing to make it cool? Do we want to do like a Nash build out of it? And my thought on it was, let's do something fast. Let's see how fast we can get one of these things going.
Yeah.
So that was the whole goal around it, is to stretch it long so they can get low and race it. And so far we got up to 30 miles, and then we got to ship it out to Daytona. So
we want to take a look at that part right there, because having had one of these apart, I know that sprocket is about 22 times the size of the sprocket that came with it.
Yeah. If you look close, it's actually the original sprocket, and then a little bit bigger sprocket, and then a bigger sprocket yet. And then the rear was really tricky because they just don't make a smaller sprocket for that same setup. So I had to machine.
Right on. Well, listen, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys being involved with this. I know that everybody that's involved with the Flying Pistons are thrilled. You guys are helping bring this thing back to Daytona, which is, it's long overdue, so we can talk to everybody at once. Let me hide the... There we go. Well, kind of at once.
That's a thought.
It's a work in progress. So, tell me what you're looking forward the most out of this experience.
Wishing I was in Daytona.
I mean,
Me too, buddy.
From here, where do we move on to Meekum with this? I mean, are they going to the Guggenheim? Is it? No, I'm just joking with you. It is.
I had something really weird to say. I just didn't.
Who wants to keep their bike? I want to keep ours for our grandson. I mean, we can't unless I win the.
Our granddaughter on that bike. That would be so badass. Yep.
I think one of the cool things, it's exactly gonna, all this stuff is gonna go to benefit, somebody somewhere along the line. These schools, if I'm not mistaken, that is where this is going to, a local school down there, correct?
The money is, to get all the kids on striders and on bicycles at a younger age. So yes.
So it's cool to be able to look at Evans and it's totally cool in Scott's bike to see the difference. Like everybody's not throwing the same thing down. That's pretty cool.
Possibly do with this thing to make it cool, but once I got it and I was like, oh, it's just 2-inch round aluminum tubing. It's like really pretty barbaric. You can just do whatever the hell you want.
Right. Yeah.
I remember right off the bat, I asked Chris from Brain Bucket Paint Shop, who painted the bike. I was like, hey, please feel free to say no to this. Paint the bike. So he's the one that painted it. And then same thing with Angie doing the paint, the seat on it. And it was cool that like I have 10,000 projects going on in the shop, right? And I have a million things, right? It's like
Evan, I can tell how busy you are because you
all this shit going on. The only thing I want to work on is this free charity bike.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that doesn't cause me stress or anxiety. Yeah. But speaking of the hair, this is as long as my hair has ever been since I've literally been like 12 or 13, which is like
what's the deal? Movie
5
roll?
or 6 years ago.
Movie role? What are you going for here?
Well, yeah, I was gonna go for the male model.
Right on. Well, Scott, you actually have some people helping you out too. I want everybody to get credit because I know on our end of the build, like Austin Andrella.
I did. I mean, the my angle on this was going to be a little bit different. I wanted to kind of look at what next generation would be looking at in regards to their toy blocks to customize things. So we went a lot with the 3D printing. I actually printed that tank, and we printed our fender mount fabrication. So the fact that I hurt myself didn't really affect us too much, other than the time I was down for the actual printing process. We've got like 100 hours of printing in these parts. Well, technology, you draw these things, and next thing you know, they're on a table. It's really pretty amazing.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so we spent the lion's share of time that we did, other than the actual physical printing, was the designing. We did a lot of CAD work on it. We drew all that stuff in AutoCAD, SolidWorks.
Sorry, we're
I would like to say I'm that cool, but we definitely didn't do any CAD work on ours.
Well, you're still that cool.
I grabbed a grinder and was like, all right, let's cut here and here, and let's throw in a piece of tube there and see what works on this thing around here.
What kind of material did you use when you 3D printed the tank? Like, what is that made out of?
It's the PBA plastic.
Oh, nice.
So it's that, or PLA, I mean, the lactic acid. So it's actually recyclable and biodegradable as well.
I'll tell you, of all the plastics, that's definitely my favorite flavor.
Yeah, the PLA.
Yeah, for sure.
my good friend Ian Ramar, I'm sitting here talking about this stuff. I forgot to even talk about him. He's the one who took the reins and completely been sitting there and monitoring this printing process while I've been dealing with this thing here. So I was really lucky. And my painter came up right on Friday. We finally got all the parts to him on Friday. His name's Rick Corgan, and he took the reins and he painted the thing, all the parts in 2 days. So we're going to have full assembly on Monday and Tuesday, and we'll be ready.
Right on, man.
I'm trying to hold everybody up on the finalized pictures with it.
Wanted to bring you guys on just to give this thing another push on behalf of Marilyn and Jeff and everybody at Ross Myers, everybody that's getting behind this, and just thank you guys for what you're doing for this, because it takes people to get excited. I've seen some of these go off before, and there's always guys that got together to put a shoulder behind us to get this thing going in Daytona, and I think you deserve the extra credit for it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, grateful to be a part of it, Chris.
Sure.
Absolutely.
For sure,
Well,
man.
individually, I would like to have each one of you back at different times because now that we've had you on the show, I know we were going through your stuff and looking at your work.
His own shop.
Yeah,
set up yet?
Reggie's got to have his own station, right?
He's working on it. Yeah, he's actually got his own little knife company he's working on.
Oh,
so he's starting to make knives.
Cool.
And that's that's
Nice.
kind of the Reggie section. Him and Rocco are starting to do that. So you'll see some knife stuff coming online here pretty quick.
Right on.
I want to volunteer right now to do marketing for that. I want you to think about this tagline, Reggie Nash. I'll cut a bitch. I'm just saying, it could catch, it could take off. This could be the thing that
looks awesome.
Yep, right on. All right, well, listen, one more time, I want to thank you guys for being here and taking some of your time out of the night for us.
Good damn haircut, Evan.
Scott, when we're in Daytona,
Don't be jealous, man.
I definitely want to spend some time and find out some more about your work. I was looking at your stuff online. I want to check.
Give everybody a little bit of my flavor too.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man.
All right, great stuff going on, and this is literally planting the seeds for the next generation of people that ride. Great work that's going on through the Flying Pistons. You can go to the link that Heather is putting up right now, and not only this, on all this fantastic merchandise that you see up on the screen. Everything is up for bid, and when we all get to Daytona, it's all going to be in one place. If you happen to be in Daytona, who's who of the whole motorcycle industry, so head over to Ross Myers Sunday, March 7th from 9 to 11. QR code right now. Pull your phone up, point it at the screen, take a picture of that. It's going to take you to the website right there. You don't even have to do anything. See that? Look how good that is.
So, and that's the website, so you can register to bid virtually. You don't have to go to that. Everything goes for the buyout price because it is for the kids.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
bid high.
Daytona is coming fast and heavy for sure. We have a ridiculous lineup of stuff, and it would probably help if I didn't. Sunday, you have to run this show. So starting off with the Hardcore Cycles Performance Show, that's actually going to be at Ross Myers under the pavilion right at the same day that we do the Builder's Breakfast. So you can go right from the Builder's Breakfast right to the Hardcore Cycles Performance Show. Leading up behind that,
Yep, that starts at noon, goes till about 4. It's an antique show and chopper gathering.
Mm-hmm. What else do we have for the week?
We have our show on Tuesday the 9th at the Broken Spoke. Registration starts at 11 a.m. Awards are at 4.
I'm having a freezing computer moment, so hang on.
Hit it with a hammer.
And Spectro and S&S Cycle and Hot Leathers. Free to enter classes. 25 trophies will be awarded. We have every class you could probably imagine, from antique radical, bobber, chopper, performance, blah, 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 blah. Tuesday, March 9th at the Broken Spoke Saloon. On Wednesday, March 10th is the Parowitz Paint Show. Again, registration starts, off my memory, at noontime, and their awards will be at 4. Thursday, of course, is Willie's Chopper Time, Tropical Tattoo, greatest chopper show on earth. Registration technically starts at 11 a.m., but bikes usually are starting to roll in around 9. Garage Build Bike Show, Broken Spoke on Friday, the 12th. Registration starts at noon. Awards are at 4. Wicked Pissa Paint Show. And then last but not least, truly, is the Alleyway Customs Invitational. That one's a little bit different. If you're heading out of Daytona on your way home, going north, that one's at Adamek Harley-Davidson in St. Augustine. We'll be there along with Jason from Cycle Stop USA and a bunch of other cool people. So check that out on your way if you're headed north.
That's actually going to be a hell of a time, because there's, now that you're looking at killer tradition, like leaving Daytona and hitting that show. So that's pretty cool.
Smalls and Nugget may make an appearance or two.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I can see Daytona, and she's putting the dogs in a dog resort, and I'm telling you, this thing is like 15 stars.
Really?
Yeah, so they don't get stressed out in the daytime at the shows. Like,
it's doggy day camp.
Well, hell, next show I go to, I want you to put me at a doggy daycare.
Yeah, they have like
right?
their little own in-ground swimming pool and everything.
Living large.
Food on the beach and
Yeah, buddy.
a ride on the shovel head.
I'm going to go with Evan, and B, I'm not going to be in Daytona. So, unfortunately. Sort of bummed.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do for everybody who can't make it there this year. We are doing tons of live stuff like Grease and Gears TV and the events. We're going to try to bring as much of Daytona to you as we can. So you can check through CycleSource and Chopper Town social media all through the week of Daytona. We're just going to pour content at you guys.
That and if you're wanting to know what events are going on and you can't keep up, if you go to cyclesource.com, I finally got around to updating the calendar. You'll see little blue dots on a date.
Groovy.
If you click on that dot, I've got everything for Daytona Bike Week up there, and then through till maybe June or July.
Keith Kronoff is asking, what time is the live feed from Willie on Thursday the 11th? I would imagine that we'll probably go live.
Up on other people that have previously scheduled stuff, but that seemed to work really well last time we were there. And no, Rob, I'm not wearing flannel. It's a Stetson.
Hey, what is it? What's a Stetson? That's cowboy for
shoes.
All right, man. Well, listen, I tell you guys how much we appreciate you being here with us every Sunday. It means the world to us, especially through all this times with COVID and everything when we've had to be apart. But it looks like we're turning the corner. We're heading back. Like I said, I adjusted the push rods and the shovel today and got it kicked over, and it gave me that obligatory giant ass puddle of oil on the floor that said, "You have not run me all winter, you dirty son of a bitch. Here's some oil for you."
Now clean up.
It was glorious. I loved it. Whole garage smells like stinky old shovel now.
Perfect.
So that's it for us, man. We're gonna actually be taking a we're taking a break through Daytona. So
now what am I going to do?
I imagine you're going to paint stuff and build things. And
all right, I'm going to Florida instead.
All right, man. Well, listen, again, thank you for letting us into your living room, your headspace, and letting us be part of your motorcycle life every week, Sunday, 9 p.m. through the courtesy of the Dennis Kirk Motorcycle Studio. We are proud to bring you Shop Talk. Until next week, same chopper time.
Same chopper channel.
Have fun and